Do you mind introducing yourself?
So my name is Gary. I've lived in Taiwan for coming on 25 years. Back in the UK, I was doing a master's degree. Most of my friends, all from Taiwan, China, Japan, we became really close. And then after I graduated, one of my friends said, why don't you come to Taiwan? Well, how is that even possible? What would I do? You could teach English. And I was like, people do that? And they're like, yeah, people do that all the time. 如果你要住在台湾，你一定学中文。我有一个女朋友，她是台湾人，她教我很多中文字。她的爸爸妈妈有便当 store， 每天我去那边，我是服务生。那你要什么？鸡排饭。一个鸡排饭外带。
是真的。
然后只是外带还是内用？OK， 空肉饭内用。你要加青菜吗？给退。不好意思，我们卖完了。所以我自己学中文，就是聊一聊。如果你是外国人，你要学中文，那个声调是最难说的。我不知道，我有妥瑞氏症，所以我 maybe I have this ability to mimic.
So you transitioned out of teaching English at one point and you became a bodyguard.
This is like one of my well-kept secrets, which is now not a secret anymore. This is all part of my becoming middle-aged and not being sure, do I want to be a teacher forever? Let's try something new. So I got a job as a nightclub doorman, and I went on a bodyguard training course. The most important skill I learned was not the physical skills, like and people, they're like, are you a Navy SEAL? No. Are you a karate champion? No, I'm not a karate champion either. Observational skills and being aware of your surroundings are the most important thing. During that 4 or 5 year period, my Mandarin just skyrocketed. It improved so much because the people who I was working with couldn't speak English at all. If you had someone from overseas, they would feel more comfortable to see my face. And that was one of the reasons why I was lucky to get the job in the first place. For the politicians, usually we were like the backup people. So if you're Ma Ying-jeou, you will have bodyguards for life. And they wear the grey. And I had to go to some of the rallies, like Double 10, Ma Ying-jeou would be there, because you've got 5,000 people in the crowd. And there's no barrier between Ma Ying-jeou and everybody else. I mean, they could just rush the stage at any second. So we would form a second perimeter around the already established bodyguards for the government. And sometimes it got really hairy because everybody wants to meet Ma Ying-jeou. He's so famous, and people are they really idolize him. They adore him. They want to touch him. They want to get close to him. Every now and again, there'll be a surge, and you could feel the crowd pushing forwards, and you would be linking hands, trying to hold people back. And everybody on the radio is talking. The pressure is a lot. That was the first time ever I felt like I'm not a foreigner. I feel like I'm part of something, because I know there's a lot of stereotyping that goes on in Taiwan. People say, so you must be a teacher. You must be American, right? And I'm like, no. Whenever I was working as a bodyguard, I felt like I belong here. Now I'm a Taiwanese person. I'm doing exactly the same, and they will treat me the same way. If I don't do my job properly, I'm going to get my butt kicked. You work really hard, it's tough, you get paid very little money. I had to stand there all day long. They'd probably give me something between $2,000 and $3,000. Before I did that job, I was very naive. I was an English teacher. I'm surrounded by just kids all the time. I'm in Happy Land singing songs, head, shoulders, knees and toes. And suddenly I'm I'm just going to be working in a nightclub as a doorman. I didn't even know that the people who worked in the nightclub were special business people. 兄弟 wink wink, we all know who you are. And then I was a little bit scared, but then after a month or so, I was like, wait, these people are harmless and they're really nice and they're just like everybody else. When I first came to Taiwan back in 2000, people were doing very bad things in nightclubs, a lot of drugs and stuff. But over the last 10, 15 years, the government have really cracked down on nightlife. My boss was very superstitious. A lot of rituals. The other people that worked in the nightclub were really super young. They were younger than me. And they always didn't really want to do that. But the older generation, the managers of the club were more, no, you have to do it. It's a tradition. Otherwise, the club's not going to make any money. I'd have to set the table up and then put the super supao on the table and the snacks. You'd have like a little urn and you'd have the ghost money and you would burn the money. And the weirdest thing I had to do was we had a bag of salt and I would have to throw the salt down the sidewalk 2 or 3 times a night. Sometimes I'd have to be careful because like there was a guy on a U-bike and I threw salt in his face. And I was like, oh, Debuchi, I'm so sorry.
Did you see any pretty gnarly fights?
Yes.
Yeah?
The fights were always over something very trivial and like, did you look at my girlfriend or did you look at me the wrong way? And there's a lot of like machismo because there's lots of groups, right? So you have like a booth. Maybe this group doesn't get along with this group or something happened on the dance floor, someone bumped into one another. If one person in one group is offended, the whole group will come to your rescue. It's not just like a one-on-one situation. It's like a 10-on-10 cowboy saloon fight. And there's like chairs flying everywhere. Everybody's like, ba 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 ba, but like 10 seconds, and then people will just like run out of the club because they don't want to get into trouble.
Do you ever see any foreigners get beat up?
Never. We used to have like a student night and we had a ladies' night where we had like special cheap tickets for foreigners and they really liked our place.
I remember that. The non-Asian foreigner night.
People would hire from Shida. They would have a graduation party. That would make my boss angry because the way Taiwanese people behave in a nightclub compared to the way foreigners behave in a nightclub is not the same. I had a guy who peed all over the bar one time. He did it on the floor the first time and I went down and I gave him a warning. I said, if you do it again, I'm going to ask you to leave. He did it again, but this time he did it on the bar. And then I had to remove him physically. When we say 喝到饱, Taiwanese people will drink very slowly, take it easy. The foreigners, the students, they'll go, I want a whiskey. And then immediately go, I want another one. And they would just try to get as insanely drunk as possible. They would try to steal things. It's a trophy. I was drunk. Look what I took from the nightclub yesterday, right? Whereas the Taiwanese would never do that. They would be like, whoa.
That's funny that she'd be more scared of foreign students than special business people.
For them, it was a big culture shock. But for me, I was like, yeah, this is kind of how I used to behave when I was like that age.
When you were standing on guard or on post, you never had any like tics or anything like that?
I used to chew pinglang. It really helps me because it would make my tics just like almost disappear. All of my friends are chewing this and they're giving it to me and it's free. And I'm like, okay, why not? So then I started getting like in trouble with my girlfriend because she was like, this is not acceptable behavior. You cannot chew pinglang. This is not good. If I find you doing that again, it's over. 如果我让他生气，他说什么？你很烂，你是烂人啊！你为什么骂我？你干嘛啦？这样，我说 OK， 我去外面休息好不好？看出来你很生气我。At the nightclub, it was okay because my boss would say, if you're uncomfortable, you just tell me. You go home early, and she could tell as well because I'd be doing this, and she'd be like, Gary, come on, just go home. But being a bodyguard. Ooh, you can't do that. Actually, doing the bodyguarding was the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life. Having the Tourette's as well, I was like, oh, this is really hard, trying to hold everything in. And I would have to sometimes say, I need to go to the bathroom and release my twitches and tics and then come back. So after like 4 or 5 years of doing this, my physical health was so bad. Just holding everything in and being so overly tired, and I got really fat. I had sleep apnea, I couldn't sleep. So I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's not for me.
What do you think about Taiwanese society's concept towards mental health?
Okay, when I came here 24, 25 years ago, extremely bad. But over the course of time, people's attitudes change like seriously like 180 degrees. Nowadays, I feel people are more tolerant and more understanding, especially the younger generation, the millennials in Taiwan. The education that they get and the experiences they get, it's a lot easier to be around them. They're a lot more tolerant. People who are, different minority groups, mental condition, a neurological disorder. The same thing with gay rights. I have Taiwanese friends my age, like like 50-something, who are so scared, they're petrified to tell their parents that they're gay. Even now. But the younger generation, they're just like, yeah, I'm gay, what you can do about it? With Tourette's, it's really, really hard. It's not necessarily the motor tics that bother people, because I do this I shake my hands and but the vocal tics are a huge problem because they're socially inappropriate. Fuck off.
Good?
Yeah, I'm okay. People think that you're saying or doing these things on purpose and you're a troublemaker. On average, 2 times or 3 times a week, someone will be very, very angry with me. And I usually get the, 先生，你为什么说这个？你干嘛？这里是台湾啊。Like very 很凶, like very, very aggressive. And I'm like, I have Tourette's, I can't help it. But now I have a disability card from the government here, and it's really changed my life so much. So now what I do is I put the card in here, they see this, their brain just goes click, and they go, oh, what have I done? Is this guy Taiwanese? No, this guy has a problem. It won't stop them from being angry, but at least it will stop them from grab me or push me or punch me. They won't call the police. Maybe they still want to have the last word to save face. So they'll go, and then they'll turn around and they'll walk away. But it's okay because like nothing bad happened. Before I'd always like be nervous and worried about people suing me or getting in trouble with the police. And as soon as I got this card, I'm being seen and I'm being respected and it feels nice. This kind of leads me to, if the government can do this, where's my citizenship? My friends, my younger friends, they always ask me, how come, Gary, 你为什么你没有身份证？因为我是外国人。And they're like, but how can you still be the 外国人? You've been here for 25年. And I'm just like, well, the constitution is very old in the ROC, because actually we live in the ROC, right? But no one ever says that anymore. Before they used to say it all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but now everything is Taiwan.
What do you think that getting citizenship would offer? Because a lot of people are like, oh, you have the APRC, isn't that good enough?
If you have the Taiwanese ID card, people will respect you more. They feel you are one of us. Because this us and them thing, I don't like it. I would like to vote. And also, I want to be able to walk into a bank and not have to fill in all these weird forms. I have a business with my partner now. There's still a lot of limitations.
Probably a lot of Taiwanese people would also be like, oh, why don't you just give up your UK passport?
Yeah, they've said that many times, and I always say, no, over my dead body. Out of principle, I just don't feel that it's right to make someone stateless. And I know a lot of Taiwanese friends of mine who don't have to give up their Taiwanese passport, and they can go to New Zealand, Australia, Canada, or wherever, and they can have 2, 3 passports. I think it should be reciprocal. But I do feel maybe in the next 5 to 10 years, this debate is definitely going to open up. There's so much change going on in Taiwan that's positive. Like, it's becoming more open, more democratic. If you talk to a younger person now and say, why are you going to vote for this person, they don't say, because my daddy is blue. They're more politically savvy. They're like, well, I care about the environment, I care about education, I also care about the relationship with mainland China, I care about the economy and da-da-da-da-da. And so that's how democracy works. Like every 5 years, I'm like, wow, that's much better than before. The progress is the thing that keeps me here. So I just feel excited about the future. But there are some things that kind of scare me about the future, like getting old in Taiwan, because I'm 50 now, and it's like 60, 70, 80. It's like, well, I'm going to die here?
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Great interview.
You guys need more subscribers for Teddy.